G'day guys and welcome back to episode of our Kart Class Podcast. Today we're going to be looking at confidence issues with young drivers. Now, for many racers, whether that's the driver or the parents, we want to see results as quick as we can. But it doesn't always work that way. Having coached drivers for the last 15 or so years, kids and all drivers, realistically, they learn at different stages. It's hard to believe for many people that I coach that have seen the results of myself and my cousin James, but we were definitely not your most talented young kids. It took us a long time to be competitive, and it's something that, now when I help new people out, they want to be fast within the first, say, 3 times of ever been in a go-kart. They want to be on the pace, and it's just not realistic. So with the confidence from that is that when parents put too much expectation on their kids to go well, the kid feels that pressure, and it's hard to deliver a good result, whether it's a good lap time or it's just driving quite confidently when you've got pressure sitting on your head. Now, going back to my cousin James and myself, I think because my dad helped us both throughout the younger years, my dad still says that James was probably one of the worst young kart races that he'd seen. It took him about 3 or 4 years to become good. And that's, things were a little bit different. We didn't have sticky tires. We didn't have clutches. So if we did spin, we would end up, off the track and having to watch everyone else. Even for myself, it was at least 3 years before I became, competitive. And probably with both of us, the breakthroughs came with, for James, it was to change class. So getting out of the cadet class, moving to a junior class, which strange enough is a bigger go-kart, a faster go-kart, and potentially racing older kids. But that was, a change of scenery almost, was like his little light switch moment. And for myself, racing interstate against, at the time, some slightly less experienced or potentially less competitive kids got me a win that really just transformed my belief in myself. So nowadays, we see a lot of people spending quick money. So they go and spend money on all the fancy gear to start off with. So they've got new go-kart, new suit, helmet, gloves, boots, coaching. It's all happening really quick. So they're trying to see results really quick. And unlike cricket or football or basketball or tennis, where you can train in your front or backyard, you can go to a court, it's a lot more accessible than going to a go-kart track. So a lot of these things with karting is that until you've got your bum in the seat at the track, you can't really get that real life experience. And so for some kids that can go to the track twice a week just because they live close to a track or, it's just more accessible, these are the kids that we see obviously ramping up and improving at a faster rate, quite naturally, because we're expecting these kids to drive, in excess of 90 kilometers an hour, brake at the right spot, hit the apex, control a go-kart, hit the throttle at the right point. There's a lot happening in really quick time. So I just wanted to sort of mention that, like I said, it doesn't come naturally to everyone, and it doesn't mean that if your kid is slow for the first couple of months, it doesn't mean he hasn't got it. It's the kids learn at different times. And now some kids like to listen, just like, you just talk to them and you can explain things. And then other kids are very visual. So they need to watch a video to see where their mistakes are, to have markers on the track or to have something drawn to a track map. Like I said, other kids you can explain you're missing the apex by 1 kart width or you're braking too late, and they go, oh, yep, okay. So they just need the pointers. So it's a lot in the delivery of how you're really giving that message to these drivers, to your kids or to the drivers that you're helping out. From a confidence point of view, let's just set mini goals for our kids. So whether you're doing a 50-second lap time and the kids are doing 45s, so you're 5 seconds off. To go from 50 to 45, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's not possible to pick up 5 seconds without making mistakes, without coming off the track, without locking the brakes. You're going to have some big moments if you're going to improve that much time. So let's just set realistic goals. Let's aim for a 49.0 on the first day or the next day you're coaching on. because from 50 to 45 is not realistic. It might take you 6 months. It might take you 2 months. But when we're setting realistic goals, that's when we can start to build confidence. And then it doesn't seem as daunting. Like 5 seconds off is a hell of a lot of time. And realistically, you shouldn't be racing club races even if you're that far off the pace. And now a lot of our newcomers to the sport, because they've gone and spent all this money, they want to go and race on day one. And it doesn't matter whether you're racing a club race and you're 5 seconds off the pace, you're potentially going to get lapped. So you're actually a bit of a hindrance to not only your own kid, but also to the leading drivers who could be lapping your kid over the race. But that's not racing. Like, you're just circulating around at a slower speed. So just put in the hard yards away from the race. And whether that means that you have to just train for an extra 2, 3, 6 months, it doesn't matter. No one's going to care that you're coming position 12 on your first ever club race compared to, if you're P16 as an example. Just try and, like I said, it's disheartening for someone to be thrown in to the deep end and just absolutely get eaten up alive. Some kids do thrive in that situation, but from the experience that I've got coaching, over 1,000 drivers, not many, especially with the younger kids. So yeah, setting realistic goals, just chipping away at it. And like I said, just work out with your driver what works for them, what coaching method. Is it talking? Is it watching video? Is it drawing on track maps? Is it walking the track of a morning or an afternoon? Getting some visual markers. See what's working for them. And when you're not on the track, try and watch the more experienced classes. So, it's always good and well to go and watch a tag restricted race because generally that class is pretty loose and they have a few, incidents, and it's pretty action packed for most of the race. And in fairness, the guys and girls who are winning those classes obviously still have a lot of ability, because when you're at the front of any field, you're clearly doing a better job than everyone else in that field. So you can still learn what to do and what not to do. But restricted drivers tend to be less experienced drivers also. So watch the tag light class, the X30 class, the KA3 junior class. Even though they're young drivers, it's such a competitive field that the ones at the front of that field are doing a very good job. Cadet 12, 30 to 40 karts in a race. So again, the top 5 or 6 are doing an incredible job with hitting their marks, consistent, smooth. Their general racecraft is going to be quite good to be beating 30 other drivers in the field. So even if you're not driving yourself, watching good drivers will also help build your confidence on what to do and what not to do also. They're probably the main things that we want to try and work on. Just how you're coaching your son or daughter, setting realistic goals, and just knowing that if you don't so-called have it within the first 3 or 6 months, it's not the end of the world. You can pick up on things very quickly these days with the GoPro cameras, the smarty cams that connect up to your Micron that tell you basically, what you're doing, predictive lap times, YouTube, karting simulators. We're seeing kids really improve their rate of learning. It's incredible to think, the technology we have at our hands, at our disposal these days with our Micron data loggers as well. So yeah, whether you see a kid all of a sudden he's taken off and you're like, I was catching that kid last time I was on the track, don't stress too much. It's just meaning that potentially the information that you've been given, you just haven't quite grasped it just yet. And once you've had a little bit more time to digest it, to practice it on the track, that, you'll also improve. So yeah, just setting realistic goals is the main thing here. And like I said, with my cousin James and myself, we were not naturals. We were getting demoralized by a lot of drivers when we were young kids. And it wasn't because, we weren't given the right information, because clearly, my dad knew what he was talking about over time. It's just that we didn't grasp it at that time. We were young, obviously both young kids and cadets at our different times in cadets. And for us, it just took us a little bit longer to digest that information and actually go and put it into action. So yeah, just all the best with your kart racing. Hopefully, these podcasts can give you some little tips and some experience from, someone who's been involved in the sport for 30 plus years and has helped a lot of drivers in that time frame also, is that, even if you are winning on day one, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to translate that in the next year or two, because other kids around you or older drivers will tend to pick up some of that information at a different stage. Well, if you've enjoyed this, any type of review, or just passing on to a mate of yours who could be in the same sort of boat where they're getting frustrated or they're getting a little bit tired of their kart racing, feel free to shoot them the Kart Class podcast, and hopefully they can, learn one or two things along the way as well. So appreciate the support so far. I think I've just been enjoying talking a bit of garbage in our kart racing podcast as well. So until next time, guys, we'll keep in touch. Cheers.